Laura Ingram, Dennis Miller, David Toulis, Coast to Coast AM, and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports leader.
Hot News Talk Radio, 910, 1190, and 1240 AM. Pure, honest, fair, and respect. Just some words that come to mind when you think about how you want to be treated. And that's how you're treated at Rivermont Pure. Rivermont Pure in Rivermont, Chattanooga. Serving your vehicle needs for over 30 years.
Now that's a long time.
Owner-operators Charlie and Tommy always put your needs first. Yeah, go ahead. Get an estimate from one of those big guy impersonal car repair chains.
No way!
Then bring it to Tommy and Charlie at Rivermont Pure. Chances are they'll beat their price and get your vehicle back on the road faster than you can say,
our customers come first. Hi, this is Charlie.
And I'm Tommy, owners of Rivermont Pure. We're here to serve you.
Rivermont Pure, the auto repair guys. Featuring ethanol-free fuel. Located across from Rivermont Elementary on Hickson Pike. Rivermont, Chattanooga. Rivermont Pure.
Rivermont Pure, that's where I've always gone to get my car serviced. My husband and I trust Charlie and Tommy. They always treat us right and give us a fair price. And they get the job done right the first time. Thank you, Rivermont Pure.
Call 485-3375. That's 485-3375.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Hi, this is your computer speaking. I don't feel so well. It's like I've...
News Talk 1240. If you have the DTs, the J's, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out? Cell Surgeon in Northgate Mall next Old Chicago Pizza. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life.
NASCAR, Laura Ingram, Dennis Miller, David Toulis, Coast to Coast AM, and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports leader.
Hot News Talk Radio, 910, 1190, and 1240 AM.
You love your hometown. Are you interested in free markets, in local economy? Do you hope that Chattanooga can survive the next meltdown, the next chain of disasters in the national economy? What's the best way to live out the ideals of self-government and self-determination? Join me, David Toulis, weekdays 1 to 3.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Love your neighbor, buy local.
And we're back for the second half of Cowboy Up With Tex. Again, agree or disagree? Want to change the subject? Have something local going on that you think your neighbors would like to hear about? You can always call 423-800-8949. Of course, you can always get us on YouTube and on Twitter at Hot News Talk Radio. So I'm a little excited. Got something interesting. I'm going to actually not be in the station the next couple of days. The NRA is coming to Nashville. They're having their national conference, and I'm going to be able to go to that. Hopefully I'll be able to learn some things I can bring back and spread around, and they're going to have a lot of politicians there, so maybe we can see what some of them are talking about and thinking about and doing. Speaking of politicians and some of the stuff they're talking about and doing, on Easter, President Obama spoke at the Easter prayer breakfast at the White House. And instead of celebrating the day, he took the opportunity to bash Christians again. Remember a while back he was talking about how Christians were all on their high horse and they needed to remember the Crusades, because somehow the Christians protecting themselves against the Muslims over 1,000 years ago excused all the stuff that the Muslims are doing today. Still hadn't quite figured that. Only in a liberal's mind could that somehow work out. Well, on Easter Sunday, there at the White House breakfast, he says, on Easter, I do reflect on the fact that as a Christian, I am supposed to love. And I have to say that sometimes when I listen to the less than loving expressions by Christians, I get concerned. But that's a topic for another day. Well, first off, he doesn't say that he is a Christian. He says that as a Christian, he's supposed to love. Well, what he doesn't say, of course, is that while Christians are supposed to love their neighbors, Muslims, by the Quran, are supposed to convert or kill their neighbors. That's the fundamental difference, Mr. President. Yes, Christians are supposed to love. And yes, not everybody's perfect. And some do fall short. And the Bible talks about that very thing. But you know what the Quran says when Muslims fall short and they don't obey everything in the Quran? That those Muslims are supposed to be killed. Not that there's a way they're supposed to be able to be saved, that they're supposed to be killed. But there again, he can't say stuff like that. In fact, right before Easter, the largest gay group in one Western state is demanding that churches who follow the Bible be shut down by the government. Isn't that what the First Amendment to the Constitution is supposed to be? Isn't that why this country was founded? Well, never mind that. Never mind that. You know, they know better. Jaron Artery, Artery? That's a weird name. Jaron Artery is the chairman of Wyoming Equality. And he posted the stunning statement on his Facebook page. And when Christians reacted with outrage, he quickly deleted it. No apology, just hoping it would go away. Well, no such luck. It seems as though that the people at Conservative Colorado got a screenshot of it before he deleted it. Well, in response to that, he then came out, there again, Jaron Artery, chairman of Wyoming Equality, he came out and said afterwards that churches that do not support same-sex marriage should lose their tax-exempt status. Well, of course, talk about tolerance, freedom of speech, and religious freedom. But if you disagree with Artery's views, then your church should be shut down. He says churches that lobby to have freedoms and rights taken away from anyone should absolutely have their 501c3 status revoked. Well, first off, I don't remember anybody ever saying that their freedoms and rights should be taken away. They're just worried usually about having their own rights and freedoms taken away when, because of religious laws and religious feelings on their own part, They just simply don't want to associate with somebody. Gone are the days of pluralism. This is what tyranny looks like. Just as they unleashed threats of violence and arson against a tiny pizzeria in Indiana, when they expressed a very mild opinion about gay marriage, which they were provoked into saying, they didn't come out. You know, the pizzeria people, they didn't come out. Oh, we're against this, we're against that. No, which is what this person is doing. No, what happened was a quote, quote, reporter, someone that's supposed to report the news, decided instead to make the news, to influence the news, which according to journalism schools everywhere, reporters are not supposed to do. They're supposed to report the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. They're supposed to report the facts. But these leftists, they always have to make the news. They have to influence the news. And they went to this tiny pizzeria and asked them, well, what if somebody did this? Well, then this is what I would have to do. So here they dared to express a mild opinion against gay marriage. So now, you know, threats of violence and arson against these Christians who dared to preach, well, Christianity. Well, revocation of tax-exempt status would be pretty much a financial death penalty for most churches, as an estimated 85% of them barely break even or sometimes even operate at a loss, with most of their efforts geared towards helping the needy. It makes perfect sense that a far-left gay group would advocate this, as this is how Obama used IRS official Lois Lerner to silence conservative groups. They don't agree with him? Well, now we got to shut them down. But you ever notice how whenever these different groups, whether it's the gays talking about the Christians or Obama talking about conservative groups and Christians, you notice who they never, ever mention? They never, ever mention mosques. Gays never criticize Islam, although it is only the Muslims that hang gays from cranes and throw them from buildings all the time in the Middle East. Obama, you know, does he bring up the fact that Muslims just killed a bunch of Christian students in Kenya? No, he has to talk about, well, sometimes the Christians aren't as nice as they should be. Even columnist George Will pointed out that Apple's openly gay CEO, Tim Cook, thinks Indiana is a terrible place, but he opened marketing and retail operations in Saudi Arabia 2 months before a man was sentenced to 450 lashes for being gay. He'd been to the United Arab Emirates negotiating on behalf of Apple, where homosexuality is against the law and the penalty is death. But yet, he talks about the Christians not being nice. There again, duplicity, not just in deeds, but also in his words. The Indiana law was passed to protect religious freedom, mirroring existing federal law and law in 31 other states. Our Declaration of Independence notes our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But for Cook and his cohorts who purport to care about freedom, protection of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, for a Christian, that's just simply an act of aggression against gays. He renders religious freedom meaningless by accusing those who exercise their right of protection of discrimination against those who wish to violate their rights. You know, when you get down to it, this isn't a political issue. It's not even really a religious issue. This is about how we treat each other as human beings. You would think that Cook, the CEO of the most valuable company in the world with a reported personal net worth of $400 million, would be able to perceive his transparent double standard. For him and other gay activists, Christians cannot observe their religion and live by the Bible's words they hold sacred without discriminating against gays. If this is truly about how we treat each other as human beings, as he writes, then how can he justify a same-sex couple going to a baker or a photographer that they well know is Christian, for whom homosexuality is a sin, and then demand a cake or photograph for a gay wedding? Is this being decent? Is this being tolerant? Is this being a freedom-loving human behavior? The truth is that the objective of the campaign is not about freedom. The objective is the delegitimization and the annihilation of Christianity in America. And this did not begin yesterday. It has now been well over a half a century that the words of our Constitution have been being distorted so that the very protections guaranteed for Christians are now being used as weapons against them. Started out with the prohibition of prayer in school, prohibitions of public displays of the 10 Commandments and Christian symbols. You know, people said, well, you can't put that up on the wall. Well, what if we let you put yours up on the wall? No, we don't want to do that. We just don't want yours up there. Whatever happened to live and let live? Whatever happened to, turn a blind eye to it if it's not bothering you? Just ignore it. Like they say, change the channel if you don't like what's on. But these people have to jump up and down on it so they can show us the power that they have. The war against Christian presence in America has become increasingly open and aggressive. And what has happened over the last half century while this has been going on? The institutions and behaviors that provide the glue for holding together a faithful, civil, and virtuous society have collapsed. The traditional American family is in shambles. 43% of our babies are now born to unwed mothers, compared to 5% a half century ago. And there have been 56 million aborted unborn children. We have to be all concerned about the illegal immigrant children. Oh, we got to let them in. Oh, we got to do this for them. We got to do that for them. But to abort your own, it's not a big deal to these people. It was not by accident that America's first president, George Washington, warned the young nation of America in his farewell address that religion and morality are indispensable to political prosperity. And he cautioned against the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Meanwhile, as legal violence is used in the war on Christianity at home, physical violence is being used in the same way in Muslim countries abroad. The Wall Street Journal reports that Christians today make up 5% of the population in the Middle East compared to 20% 100 years ago. And those people did not leave voluntarily. And sometimes they didn't leave. They were just buried. As many political and business leaders cowardly enable this global war on Christianity, Christians must stand in defense of themselves and their religion and their convictions. Because if we don't, who will? And another sign showing the moral decay in this country. Politicians lying left and right. Even the newspapers that are supposed to report don't even do that anymore. Now they just make up stories. They just had in stories being made up about rapes. And when they're caught red-handed, reporting rapes that never happened and disparaging people left and right. Oh, well, if it wasn't true here, it was true somewhere. It's just nobody is held to standards anymore. And that's part of the moral decay. People need to have standards and they need to stand by those standards. Look at Harry Reid. Yeah, he lied about Mitt Romney not paying his taxes. So what? He didn't get elected, did he? Ha, 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 ha. But the Mormons are maybe going to hold Harry Reid's feet to the fire for once. He's been lying for 20 years. But he finally lied on another Mormon. A lot of people didn't know that Harry Reid, like Mitt Romney, is a Mormon. But when he finally lied on Mitt Romney, there is now an ongoing campaign in the Mormon church to kick Harry Reid out. Well, who knows how much that's going to bother him. I mean, the man has no morals or he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. Hillary Clinton, another one who lies for a living and who has, as far as I can tell, no morals. She's back in the headlines. This time because of her looming presidential campaign. You notice how she's always thinking about running. She's always considering, she might announce. Well, a conservative watchdog group filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission asking that it investigate whether she broke election laws by conducting campaign activities before announcing her candidacy, because she still hasn't announced. In the complaint, the Foundation for Credibility and Civil Trust emphasized that Clinton and her campaign, Ready for Hillary, may have broken federal law by not disclosing contributions while acting as a candidate. The FEC, Federal Elections Commission, has regulations against campaigning prior to officially declaring candidacy. It allows potential candidates a window of time to test the waters. But at a certain point, you have to commit. And once you commit, there are laws and rules dictating what you can and cannot do, who you can get money from and who you cannot get money from. Well, she's trying to, again, as she does, trying to have her cake and eat it too. Her activities extended far beyond what this preliminary period allows, namely the hiring of at least 6 staff members to launch her campaign, and she's been investigating potential sites for campaign headquarters and hiring staff in anticipation of opening those campaign headquarters. And the group called upon the Federal Election Commission to conduct an immediate and thorough investigation to determine the legality of her actions. Well, what's the consequences of these actions? Well, the punishment for violating such laws can be severe. If campaign laws are knowingly violated and more than $25,000 in fund is received or generated, and she's gone well beyond that, people, the person involved could be imprisoned for up to 5 years. Although the threshold is high for the FEC to examine whether someone has violated campaign laws, former U.S. Attorney and Facts Director Michael Whitaker stated that the law is clear, and to ensure public transparency, the FEC must enforce its own laws. Well, now that'd be something, wouldn't it? A Washington organization enforcing the actual law. Whitaker emphasized that looking for a campaign office, approving budgets, hiring staff are all the hallmarks of a campaign, and that has crossed the line from testing the waters to official campaigning. In light of this, he's called on the FEC to do their job and to investigate Clinton. And as you might expect, requests for comment from a Clinton spokesperson were not immediately returned. The evidence against Hillary is clear. She has knowingly violated federal campaign laws and tried to skirt around the American justice system. And here's the question. If she's conducting herself like this prior to being elected, how can we trust that she will follow the rule of law if elected? Transparency in politics is critical to ensuring elected officials are held accountable and can be trusted. Based on behavior like this and other things that she's done, like getting rid of her email server, Hillary is interested neither in accountability nor trust, but only her own political successes. Of course, there was a lot of questions raised about some of the campaign funds that our current president got. And we see how far that went. Of course, there's been a lot of questions about our current president that never saw the light of day. Well, back in Texas, District Judge Andrew Hannon has denied a Justice Department request late Tuesday night to lift his injunction on President Obama's plan to grant executive amnesty and work permits to up to 5 million illegal aliens. He issued his injunction back in February. And of course, Homeland Security and the Justice Department immediately wanted to have that struck down. But then they lied to him. He wrote Tuesday that while the federal government has been misleading on the subject, he would not immediately apply sanctions against the government, saying to do so would not be in the interest of justice or in the best interest of the country. But he still turned it down. 26 U.S. states have filed the lawsuit alleging that Obama exceeded his powers with executive orders, that those orders bypassed Congress. And Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said in a statement on Tuesday that the Obama administration intentionally misled the courts regarding early implementation of expanded work permits. Any premature implementation would have serious consequences, inflicting irreparable harm on our state. This ruling is key in determining the extent to which the federal government did not present the full truth in this case. Well, next is the Justice Department has filed a notice of appeal to the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans, which makes you wonder because that court actually also, ironically on Tuesday, rejected a challenge to Obama's 2012 executive action granting deportation relief to immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children, known as the Dreamers, by upholding a lower court's earlier ruling against the state of Mississippi, saying that Mississippi didn't have standing because it didn't show harm. I'm sure all the taxpayers paying for that might have a different view. That's it for another day. Cowboy Up With Tex.